Hello everyone. Welcome to Office Hours, where we work through problems posted by the community. I'm Stephen Yao, otherwise known as Yas on the forums, and today we're looking at a kind of old thread where they had an issue between debug and the publish build. That part's actually been solved. This was because I think they used a timeout on the load, which was a bit odd. Where's it gone? Yes, there was a timeout before destroying the hierarchy. And what I believe happened here is that when they loaded the new scene, it probably found there's probably some code in there that was looking for particular names of entities, and because it wasn't being destroyed until 10 milliseconds later, um, there was a chance that the new scene was loaded before the timeout ended, and therefore found references to old entities. Anyway, that's been solved, so that's not the issue I'm looking at. Is actually the last reply here where they get a runtime error of an exception where they looks like to be a null exception when they change scenes. So I had a quick look at this and managed to reproduce it. So let's and made a fork of it to take a look at. So let's just go through it now. Play start scene. If we play this and hit start. Scene of file. Okay. So this is one of the cases where they, instead of using scene names to load scenes, they've used the scene ID, which is not great because that means that when you try to fork the project, it's referencing the scene IDs have changed, and therefore you get this issue. Okay, so we can't use the fork of the project. In which case, what we're going to do instead is use their current project, which I generally don't like to do because it means I can't edit around, I can't edit the code, etc. But let's run with this and see how far we get. Okay, so push start. Load of scene. Okay, cool. We get the error. Interesting. So let's bring up the debug window. DevTools. Let's take a look at this. Maybe let me make that bigger for everyone so they can see it. There we go. Debug. Cannot find. No. Okay, so what we're going to do here is relaunch this. Network. Don't disable cache. We don't need to disable. Okay, so that's run. What I'm going to do here is on... Where's it gone? Where do my options for sources? Does it go bigger? There you go. That's what I needed. So we're going to click on this. So right now I'm in the Chrome DevTools, and this is where your most powerful tool to debug apps or debug code on the browser. As we know, it fires an exception. What I'm going to do here in the sources tab is click on this, where it will now pause on call to exception. So every time the exception is thrown, it means it'll stop the debugger at the line where the exception is thrown, and I'll be able to go backwards through the code and see where that's come from. Let's see how far we get. So we go start, click on this, click on that. Okay, so scope, get. Okay, so it looks like mouse event. Okay, it's a bit difficult to find out what's going on here. My hunch is that there's a dangling event handler kicking around somewhere, which is unusual because normally they get cleaned up when the entity is destroyed. Okay, let's take a look at the code. So let's stop that. Run it further. Let's take a look at the code and see what we can find. Which scene was that in? Probably parallax. Okay, so it's probably this one. Clicks on this. We click on that element. It's a callback. Darken. Okay. What code do we have? A timer. Well, let's open the code and see what we can find. So what I'm looking for is some sort of callback in the UI. So what's referencing that darken? Is there code that references that, or is there any code in this scene that scene control? Let's try that. Let's suspect. Okay, maybe not. So we've got darken. Oh, actually, no, I'm selecting the thing in the background, aren't I? I'm not actually selecting the button. That's why I can't see it. So let's take a look. Button, button, button. Hint, hint it back. Hint, hint. Cart. Location. There you go. So just, I don't know if you can see that, but there you go. That's the one I'm looking at. And there you go. Oh, new scene. Okay, so okay, that's fine. Off stream destroy. Load new scene. Okay. Interesting. Let me try. I'm gonna try relaunching this again because I'm gonna try and see if I can find out if it's possible to find out what the name of the entity is for that. Okay, so let's go into. Cannot read properties of null. So data's null. Let's stop data. So data. So data's null. Okay, fine. Huh. So let's go back to call stack. Handle up. So mass up. So what function was this on? Detach. So this is on the element input. Okay, so now I'm in the realm where I'm going to need to edit code and start removing stuff to find out what's going on. So in which case, let's go back to the fork and let's fix up the fork. Okay, so start. Now we'll have load scene thing, button new scene. That really should be changed to a new version where you get the name of the scene. We do have a tutorial on that on names. Let me create a new tab with this. New tab, duplicate. Okay. We do have a tutorial where it's been modernized, so you check with the scene register and go, right, I want to find the scene or ID of this scene of this name. And that's a lot more robust, especially when you do fork lots of projects. Okay, so let's do that. Let's fix this up first. So load scene, load that scene, fine. And since we know it happens on that particular button, I assume that loads, let's say, parallax 2. I'm sure it doesn't really matter too much, but has it gone card? There you go. That one. Okay, now let's try. Let's see if it happens from here. So let's see if I can trigger the issue from here. I can. Fantastic. Okay, so that saves us one extra step on reproducing the error. Okie dokie. This is where I'll start thinking about what could be causing the issue. So loads of new scene. Apart from that, everything seems to be working fine. So that's a concern. I wonder where it's happening. I wonder if it's happening on the destroy. So let's try and sort of narrow down which part of the logic is going in. So what we're going to do instead, or we're going to get rid of this. I wonder if it's because it's using load scene. Okay, I'm gonna have to think about that. The code here to load scene is a bit not great, and I'm gonna what I'm gonna do is first of all see if it's the scene loading that's causing the issue. So let's work there. Let's start from there. Interesting. It's not the scene loading that's causing the issue. It's the on destroy. So let me comment that out as well. So let's try that again. Okay, so something happened on destroy. Hold on, okay, destroy. I wonder if it's because of when we're doing the event. Interesting. Okay, In that case, let's try. Okay, let me try commenting this out for the moment, and instead using click. This might end up being a slight. This might end up being a bug report. Not element. We want button. And on the click event. So the click event on the button is effectively a push down and release on the same element. This dot on release. And this also covers both touch and mouse events. Load scene. Okay, that's all fine. So let's try that. That's sad. It's strange that it doesn't happen on the first scene. Okay, so that's fine. That's interesting. Oh, I think I might know what will be happening. I know what might be happening with this. There we go. Okay, so that solved the issue. We're using the click event. And I believe this is because there may be other events for mouse up that's been listened to in the scene. So I've got new scene, cart. Here we go. So what I believe is happening here is that we've got multiple scripts listening for the mouse up event, and as it's going through the list of callbacks, going okay. Script 1 is listening for the mouse event. Script 2 is listening for the mouse event. Script 3 is listening for the mouse up event. If in the middle of traversing through the list of callbacks, the button's deleted, when it gets to the next callback in the list, there's no button element to be to reference because it got destroyed in the middle of traversing the call stack. So we could actually solve this another way, and probably better to do it the other way than this, because the click would have the same problem. If there's multiple scripts in the scene referencing the click event, then this will have the same issue. All right, so let's sort this out here. Okay, so what we're going to do instead is do it on the next frame. Do the hold arc destroy the scene load on the next frame instead. I'm going to do this by this dot load in scene equals false. On release. So what we're going to do is how am I going to do this? Don't really want to set two flags for this. See. I think this is probably the way I'm going to do this. If this dot trigger loading scene, this dot trigger loading scene false. So dot loading scene equals true, and then do this stuff here. Okay, so and then in here, oh, we need that. Let's do that on here. Let's do the fire as well. Okay, and then this would be if we're not loading the scene. Loading scene. Dot trigger loading scene equal. Great. Okay, so what's going to happen is as we release our mouse button, we are going to trigger the load for the next frame. and that should be fine. Or the next update. What's important thing is it's going to let the engine go through all the callbacks for the mouse event first, and then at some point it will load the scene, whether it be the next frame or the same frame, doesn't really matter in this particular case. And we will prevent the user from being able to load the scene twice, so by clicking on it multiple times, by gating it with loading the scene. Yeah, that should work. So let's load that again. Up again, click. Perfect. Awesome. What I do recommend is that if we go back to the tutorials, is instead of using load scene, I would use the load scene hierarchy and load scene settings, or one or the other. Mainly because load scene should not be used unless you're using engine only, unless you're using PlayCanvas engine only. So load in. I've got 2 tutorials, changing scenes and switching full scene. Both of these will also show you how to load the scene by name instead of by ID, making it more robust when you do forking of the projects. And they will use load scene hierarchy and I believe load scene hierarchy, load scene settings, respectively. Scene registry. So yeah, we've got load scene hierarchy, load scene settings. Load scene is part of the product API, but we do have a warning here: is this is an internal method used by the application and should not be used. And ideally, you should be using these two instead. Okay, cool. So let's send this back to the user and see what they have, and see if that solves their issue. Thank you very much, everyone. Take care.